Hello again. This is a follow-up to my most recent 4 Truths 1 Lie video. If you haven't yet watched that, then I suggest you do so now. Interestingly, 4 people commented, and each one guessed something different. Leon Bradley of Doom thinks that I never thought that Tony Blair was a woman. Star actor Empoleon thinks that I have drunk a can of Red Bull in the past. Hiawatha doesn't believe that I tried to count stones, and Amishay SDF, please let me know whether I've pronounced that correctly, believes that I do not own any army surplus Christmas decorations. The only one that nobody guessed was number 1. When I was younger, I once spent ages trying to remove money from a piggy bank by shaking it out through the slot in the top. After trying this for a while without much success, I deduced that piggy banks are an ineffective way of storing money, and to this day I don't use one. Therefore, you will all be pleased to hear that this is true. The incident did occur as described. The piggy bank, which belonged to my sister, was made in the shape of Humpty Dumpty, so I suppose it should really be called an eggy bank. So, who was right? Well, I'm sorry, Leon Bradley of Doom, but on a recent look through my old school books, I found Tony Blair's name spelt with an I instead of a Y. I'm forced to conclude that number 2 was true. What about the gravel path? Well, sorry Hiawatha, but this was true as well. My parents stopped me after about 30, but the 5-year-old me could happily have stayed there counting individual stones for days. Perhaps they stopped me so that I wouldn't starve, or perhaps it's because I planned to make a heap of stones next to the path in order to avoid double counting any, and would have destroyed the path as a result. Presumably I would have left them for the next person to count the stones back one by one, so they could check that my total was correct. So, was it the Red Bull or the army surplus Christmas decorations? Well, number 3, I have never drunk a can of Red Bull, with the exception of the one that I mixed with vinegar, was true. I have had a couple of Red Bull energy shots, but they aren't sold in cans, so they don't count as cans of Red Bull. This means that Amishay SDF was right. I do not own a set of army surplus Christmas decorations. However, I have seen them for sale. A few years ago, I went on holiday to Norfolk, and found this army surplus store, which has to be one of the most unusual shops I've ever seen. When I went in, I found that it only sold Christmas decorations. I didn't buy any, but sometimes I wish I did. Now, time to tag 5 people. I'm going to tag the 4 people who guessed in this episode, with the exception of star actor Empoleon, because she's already made her own video like this, along with Empress Crystal 2 and username of mine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that's it. Goodbye.